the cards thrown up in the air there, and the title that says suit preference signals for folks. Hoping that my water bottle is not in the way. I'll move it just in case. We've not talked much about suit preference signals prior to today. We talked about attitude. I've alluded to count. I haven't done much on count yet. Count can be important when the declarer is leading. Generally, when your partner is leading, particularly on the opening lead, if he's led a high card, you want to give him your attitude about it. For instance, if he leads the ace, strongly implying that he has the king, then if you do not have the queen or you don't have a doubleton, in other words, if you don't have control of the third round, you want to play a low card to discourage partner from continuing the suit. If he leads the king, meaning that he has the queen, and if it's a no trump contract, either the jack or the 10, then you want to let him know whether you have a touching honor and should give him attitude, telling him, yes, I do have a touching honor, or no, I don't have a touching honor. Be careful. Count signals are generally used when the declarer is on lead, and they're particularly useful in instances where there's a long suit in the dummy, most usually in a no trump contract that needs to be set up. Maybe your partner has an ace. If the declarer starts to work on that suit immediately, it's a pretty good indication that he's trying to set up that long suit. And maybe your partner does have the ace, and he needs to know how many cards in that suit that the declarer has. Well, he can figure that out from looking at his hand, the dummy, and from your count signal. So it can be important to use a count signal in an instance like that. Generally, people play up the line to show an odd number, or they play high-low to signal an even number. Obviously, if partner plays a low card, most often that will indicate 3 in the suit. It may be a singleton, it may be 5, but as a general rule, it's 3. And when partner plays high-low, that is generally a doubleton, but it could be 4. So these kinds of signals are completely legal, and in fact are the only way that you're really allowed to communicate with partner at all during the play of the hand. If you can learn to use basic defensive signals, your defense will improve dramatically, and when defense improves, your score improves, believe me. So the third type of defensive signal is a suit preference signal, and there are a couple of times that it's really, really important for giving information to your partner, but it's the third on the list, and so often people don't pay a lot of attention to it. When if they would pay some attention and take a little bit of extra care to give partner a suit preference signal, that can also improve defensive results dramatically. You know, without some sort of signaling, defense ends up being nothing more than a guessing game, a shot in the dark. And that's kind of hard. Trying to figure out defense when it's a shot in the dark and you're guessing, unless you're a much better guesser than I am, you end up being wrong. I mean, I'm wrong enough on defense as it is. So if I'm trying just by my own wits to figure out what to do, it becomes even more difficult. There are basically 4 instances when players could use a suit preference signal. Partners play to the opening lead. I just talked about attitude. But say there's a singleton in the dummy. Well, all of a sudden, attitude's not important. It doesn't make any difference what your attitude is. If partner continues to suit, it's going to get roughed. And as you've heard me say many times, you add to your trick total by trumping in the short trump hand. So the defenders don't necessarily want to give the declarer an opportunity to use those trumps in the short hand. If partner leads out an ace and there's a singleton on the dummy, your attitude is no longer important. Count signal is no longer important either, because all that matters is there aren't going to be any left on the dummy. So that means that suit preference should come into play. Partners play to the opening lead is an opportunity to use a suit preference signal. Your opening lead can sometimes indicate a suit preference. When declarer is playing out the trumps, and maybe you need to discard. If you want to discard a high card in a suit, very often people use that to indicate, hey, if you get the opportunity to be on lead, I'd like you to lead this suit. This generally means it's an unnecessarily high card. A low card in the suit can either be, don't care, or I prefer the lower ranking suit, or I don't care about this suit even. And then, of course, in the middle of the game, when you're leading on defense, that can present an opportunity as well. We're going to talk about a couple of these today, because to talk about all four would make the lesson way, way, way too long. So sometimes people get confused, though. One of the partners may be thinking, oh, my partner played low here. I think that might be a suit preference signal. And the other one is thinking, I'm giving attitude. Please continue or stop. And it depends. Either one of these situations might be what's actually going on. But it's important to remember that when partner is leading, especially on the opening lead, attitude takes priority. When partner's leading a new suit, if you're not having to play third hand high, then attitude takes first priority, always. One of my problems when I first started learning about the suit preference signals was I thought, oh, my partner played a low card. I wonder if that means he wants me to switch to a lower ranking suit. And that was usually wrong. I forgot that partner's job when I'm on lead, especially the opening lead, is to show attitude about my card. Now, there are other ways to do that. People play trump suit preference sometimes, and that's a more advanced method of showing partner what you think about the suit he led, especially in no trump. When declarer starts leading a suit, then you can show your attitude by which card you use to follow. And that gets really, really complicated sometimes because it's hard to remember to look for it. I have to remind myself when my partner has led a suit and neither one of us won the trick, either in no trump or in a trump contract. When the declarer starts leading, you can use the cards you play to tell your partner what you thought about the opening lead. That gets into an area that can be hard to remember to do and confusing to try to interpret. But there are many, many applications for this signal that you could use down the road if you want to. But the ones I'm going to talk about this morning are the ones that will help you the most right now. When you have raised partner suit and you do or do not have the queen, remember our rules for raising partner suit, a major suit, I should say specifically, require only 3 card support. We don't promise partner we have a king or a queen. We just say we have 3 cards in your suit, partner. So we have an 8-card major suit fit. And you may encourage the suit, even if you don't have the queen, if a shift to another suit isn't at all helpful. In other words, if it makes no difference, you can go ahead and encourage the lead of that suit. You can discourage the continuation of the suit, even if you have the queen, if you need partner to shift immediately. And you can discourage the continuation of the suit if it becomes apparent that continuing is fruitless. We've all had it happen when a partner has bid a major suit and you've raised it with 3 small cards and partner optimistically puts the ace on the table only to see the king, queen, and jack pop up in the dummy. Obviously, that's a situation where continuing is fruitless. You've already promised partner 3 cards in the suit, and that's all. So you're not the one that's short, and a shift in the lead is indicated right then. So you can use a suit preference signal in that instance as well. But a discouraging signal does not indicate a suit preference. It is merely attitude. That's all. That's the thing that confused me a lot at the beginning. So as I said earlier, the opening leader should interpret the card played by the person sitting in the third seat as a suit preference when there's a singleton in the dummy. When there's a singleton in the dummy, tell partner what you would like him to lead, if you have a preference. Now, how do you do that? That's the next question. Well, if you want partner to shift to a higher ranking suit, there are two suits out, the trump suit and the suit partner led. That means that one is higher ranking and the other one is lower ranking. So playing an unnecessarily high card in the suit that partner led indicates to partner that you would like for him to change to the higher ranking non-trump suit. Playing a low card in the suit that partner led indicates a desire for a switch to the lower ranking non-trump suit. This is pretty straightforward. Now, this assumes that you play standard carding, but even people who play upside down generally play regular suit preference signals. So this is a place where most people who play upside down do not play upside down suit preference signals. Playing a middling card like a 6 or a 7 says, doesn't matter, partner, from where I sit. Use your best judgment. I don't have anything to suggest to you that might be better. Now, of course, when you start using signals, people will find out that you'll be going along using regular standard carding, and one day a hand comes up and you don't have the right card in your hand, and you think, well, doggone it, what could I have done? I only had the 8, 9, and 10 in my hand, and I wanted partner to shift to the lower ranking suit. The lowest card I have is the 8. That didn't work out well. Maybe I should shift to upside down. Well, then pretty soon along comes a hand, and you only have a 2, 3, and a 4 in your hand. You switch to Laventhal. Laventhal is a suit preference signal that says, don't lead the suit I've discarded. If you've discarded a high card in that suit, it says lead the other higher ranking suit. If you discard a lower card in that suit, it says lead the other lower ranking suit. It's particularly useful against no trump. But oftentimes you don't have the right card for a Laventhal or even odd even signaling. Some of you may play odd even or who have run into it. Playing an odd card says, yes, I like this. Playing an even card says, no, I don't. So maybe the only even card you have is a 10. I'm here to tell you that using a 10 for a signal runs the risk of giving away 4th round control of the suit. So using a 10 and even a 9 for signaling doesn't always work out well for you. So it doesn't matter which way you choose to give suit preference signals. You will not always have the right card in your hand to do it. This means that partner is at a bit of a disadvantage. He should look around and see what other cards he can see between the dummy and his hand, and the cards that partner and the declarer played to that first trick. So it can be a bit of a problem in that instance, and certainly you will not always get it right. But on the times when you have the right card, it can make a tremendous difference. So let's take a look at a hand here that should enable you to figure stuff out here. On this hand, West opens a weak 2 spades. This is a good weak 2 spade opening, vulnerable or not. North doubles. He has a standard takeout double here, shortness in the suit bid, and at least 3 card support for all the unbid suits, including 4 cards in the other major. Perfect takeout double. Your partner says 4 spades. You don't have any idea whether partner has a good hand and expects to make 4 spades, or whether he has 4 spades in his hand and is using the law of total tricks to bid the game. You don't know. But this comes under the heading of let's trust my partner here. Looks pretty grim from my side of the table, but we don't know what's going on yet. Then South opened the bidding, one club. And I said take out double here. I forgot to mention that South opened the club and West used a weak jump overcall here. That means that North's double is negative, showing 4 cards in an unbid major and tolerance at least for the unbid minor or for partners opening minor. East still bid 4 spades. Now the negative double in this instance should show at least 10 points because it forces partner to the 3 level. Your partner has an opening hand, and if you double, forcing him to bid at the 3 level, you shouldn't be doing that with the standard 6 points that the negative double promises. In this case, the negative double should promise 10 or more points. Now all of a sudden, West has a pretty good idea that partner's bid is a law of total tricks bid. Okay, that's all right. East, West are vulnerable. We're not. So that's okay. Now, South buys the contract in 5 hearts. That means that West is on lead. He leads the ace according to standard opening lead agreements. Declarer plays a small card from the dummy. East plays the 2. Declarer played the 6. What should West be thinking? Does anybody have any thoughts about what that 2 means?
Preference
I don't.
for 2 clubs for a club lead.
For a club lead. Why would that would be the logical inference, wouldn't it? If West is alert, he now knows that his partner bid 4 spades based on the law of total tricks. If he has 6 spades and East has 4 and there are 2 in the dummy, how many of them does the declarer have? He has only 1, right? There are only 13 cards in spades. So partner, if you continue the suit, it's just going to get trumped. And West should be able to figure that out. In this case, this is not only a discouraging attitude signal, it is a suit preference signal saying, do not continue. You know that we have 10 of these between us, and there are 2 in the dummy. I want you to lead a club. Well, why in the world does he want a club lead? There's the ace in the dummy. What's going on here? This is weird. If I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, well, you may have a club honor, but when your partner gives you a signal, it's generally best to trust that signal. Partner shouldn't just absent-mindedly play the 2 here. If you're accustomed to having your partner just play the lowest card he has when you lead out an ace, rethink that, because he can give you much more information if you've agreed to use at least attitude and suit preference signals. In this case, though, West should be thinking that opener has a singleton. Even without East's play of the 2, he should be able to figure that out from the bidding and from the fact that there are 2 cards in the dummy. He would not have a clue which suit to lead, would he? He has a jack in the club suit, but that doesn't rate to take a trick. He has a doubleton diamond. If I have to switch, I'm probably going to be thinking that I might switch to the 10 of diamonds. Maybe I could get a diamond ruff. My partner doesn't have the diamond ace, but he might have the king, and he might be able to get in, and maybe he has a trump honor that would enable him to get in and give me a ruff. I don't believe that I would choose to lead from Jack 3rd without an indication from my partner. But let's look at the full hand for sure. We've talked about what West should be thinking and how East's bidding gives him a clue that they have 10 of them. And you have to remember that when partner gives you a suit preference signal, It should not indicate a desire to shift to a trump. When suit preference signals are given, they do not include the trump suit as a general rule. You and your partner can have a different agreement, but in general, suit preference signals do not include the trump suit. You may want to shift to a trump, but you have to depend on partner to be able to work that out generally. Now, the second trick here is the absolute key to the contract. If West doesn't shift to the club in order to give East a ruff, South will ruff the spade continuation or win a diamond lead. Either way, as you can see, he's got all the diamond top honors here. He can pull the trumps and then claim his contract. So in order to defeat the contract, West has to give his partner a ruff immediately. After East gets his ruff, he has no way to get another one, does he? So he can just lead a diamond and declare his tricks, and pretty soon he's going to win a trick with the king of trumps here. There's no way the declarer can pick it up. He has the king of trumps. So East-West ends up getting a spade trick, a club ruff, and the trump king to set the contract one trick. And if you notice, the law of total tricks works out perfectly here, even with very few assets on their side. The possession of 10 trump and the distribution that East has gives them a cold for spade contract. They are absolutely cold. West doesn't have to have East trumps to be able to pull the opponent's trumps, so he can ruff all three of his clubs here. Now, it's going to be pretty hard for him to get back to his hand to ruff them all out, but he can end up losing only one heart because the king is well placed and 2 diamonds. So it becomes even more important that East-West defeat 5 hearts. Since North and South outbid them for the contract, they may have been sacrificing. I mean, I think you can tell from this South hand here that he doesn't have much defense against spades. His cards are all in the side suits. So he tends to think that the opponents have a giant spade fit. Well, if they have a spade fit, we probably have a heart fit. But it's hard to tell on this auction whether East and West can make 4 spades. In general, you assume they cannot, but just in case they can, South needs to bid 5 hearts. He knows his partner has 4 hearts from that negative double. So it's worth a shot for him to try it. And unless the East-West pair use suit preference signals, West doesn't have a clue what to lead. He has to guess. Once again, defense is reduced to a guess. And anytime you have to guess, your odds of success go down. Sherry, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I need to kind of go back to the basic a little bit.
All
When
right.
you talk about higher ranking of the non-trump suit, there's 3 non-trump suits.
No, but you don't count the one that your partner led.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There are only 2 suits. If he wants a continuation, he will play a high card, a card like a 6 or a 7, an unnecessarily high card like a 9 would indicate he wants a shift. This is key here. The word unnecessarily comes into play. An unnecessarily high card can be a suit preference signal if there's a singleton on the dummy. A very low card means one of 2 things. Either that's all your partner has, or he wants you to shift to the lower ranking suit. And when you've agreed to play suit preference signals, you don't always have the right card, and partner will do what he thinks is right according to your signal, and it doesn't work out. Well, the fact is that suit preference signals don't always work out, just like everything else in bridge. Nothing works all the time except for the rule of 11. So if you don't have the right card, do the best you can, and maybe partner will make the right choice, or he'll figure it out. but you never include the suit that partner has led, or in the case of a trump contract, it does not include the trump suit. Thank you for clarifying that. I think I didn't make that clear enough. All right, now then, here's an example of an instance where a pair might use a suit preference signal when they're following suit. You and your partner bid and raised hearts, but the opponents got the bid in 4 spades. So, partner leads the ace of hearts. You play the 2. This is an attitude signal, attitude only, because you don't have the queen. You want to discourage partner from setting up the queen for declarer. If he can shift to another suit, or you can get the lead, you can lead a heart back through the declarer's known queen, unless partner has the queen. And then if he does, then he's going to continue leading hearts regardless of what you play. So play the 2, saying, I don't have the queen, and you know I don't have a doubleton because I raised your opening bid. But partner keeps right on with the king. So much for partners paying attention to my signal, huh? But I still have a chance here. I have 2 cards left. I have the 5 and the 8. Which card am I going to play?
The 8.
The 8. Why do we want to play the 8?
Switch to diamond.
Yes. That tells partner, I don't want you to keep playing hearts. I want you to change. Partner has to be alert. This also is up the line from the 2. But he can see the 10 on the board. Depending on what declarer has played, he needs to interpret that 8 as being, if you don't have the queen, please don't continue with hearts. I need you to shift to a diamond because I cannot profitably lead diamonds from my side of the table. If I do, declarer is going to get a trick with that king, and that will not be good for the good guys here. I need you to shift to the higher ranking of the 2 suits. Notice there's a doubleton in the dummy. Partner's going to have to shift anyway. So now we get back to the same situation as we had in the first one. There's going to be a void in the dummy. So I want to tell my partner which card I want him to, or which suit I want him to lead. I clearly want him to play a diamond, because if he takes the ace and king of hearts and I can get 2 diamond tricks, voila, we have set 4 spades. We have set 4 spades. If partner leads a club, thinking that, well, maybe my partner has the ace, it won't work out so well. Often in situations like this, you notice that the dummy has 5 spades. You have 2. You can rest assured that South has 5 spades because he bid 2 spades. And he has a decent hand. He's come in at the 2 level. There's a good chance that they're going to make this bid. Now, partner has an opening hand, and you have 7 points. But if declarer has a parking place for any of his losers, then they can make the bid, and you want to set it. You and your partner found a heart fit, and as often happens, the people who own the spades own the contract lots of times. This bid by North here is a preemptive raise. It's not technically, this is a 10-point hand with short, an 11-point hand here with shortness and hearts, if you count that. You have a big fit, though, in spades. And so this is not what I would call a preemptive raise, but it's based on the law of total tricks. You know, South has 5 of them, and you have 5, so you need to be willing to bid to 4 spades. And in this case, you're not interested in letting the opponents bid anymore, give each other any more information. So you just bid 4 spades right away. South has to have something to come in at the 2 level. This is not in the balancing seat. If you were going to call this a balancing bid, it would be a pre-balance. But this, he probably wouldn't do this with just the standard 7 or 8 card minimum balancing hand. He probably has more than that. Maybe he has shortness in one of the minor suits because of his, maybe he has 6 spades in his hand. We don't know. He could have 6 spades. These 2 that are in the defender's hand here would make 11. If he has 6 and dummy has 5, these 2 would make 11. And West would have no spades at all. So it's really important here for you to tell partner, I want the lead of the higher ranking suit by playing the 8. He doesn't know that that's the highest card you have, but there is going to be a void on the dummy after he takes his king. He doesn't want that king going away, so he took it right now. And now if you can convince him to lead a diamond, you have the contract set, assuming that the declarer has 2 diamonds in his hand. And we have to make that assumption because that's the way we have to set the contract. When you can see a way to beat the contract, assume that that's the situation that exists, because that's what you need. It doesn't make sense to follow a plan that you have reason to believe will not work. If you need the cards to lie a certain way for you to set a contract or to make a contract, assume they lie that way. So we're going to assume that the declarer has at least 2 diamonds, 2 small diamonds. And in that case, we'll get 2 hearts and 2 diamonds for a 1-trick set. Here's the situation that I was alluding to earlier. This is why I say, even if your partner raised your major suit, if you don't have the ace supported by the king, it can be very unfortunate for you to lead out the ace, hoping that partner has the king. If the declarer has the king, you need to let your partner lead the suit. As you can see here, West's lead of the ace sets up the king, queen, and jack for the declarer. Oh dear. This is the reason for the rule against leading unsupported aces. It tends to set up tricks for the people who won the contract. Generally, they have the contract for one of 2 reasons. Either they're sacrificing or they have the balance of the power. And by leading out an unsupported ace, you run a high risk of setting up a trick in that suit for the opposition. Wes is saying, oh, well, I made a bad assumption here. You know what they say about that word assume? I just stepped right in the middle of it. So what's he going to do? It is incumbent upon East to give his partner a suit preference signal here. This is an example when continuing that suit would be completely fruitless. We have given the declarer discards if he needs them, or we've set up 3 tricks for him. Regardless, pretty obvious though from looking at the way the suit lies here that South has only 1 card here in this suit, in this heart suit. So we got the ace, but in return, declarer gets 3 tricks. Not a good situation. So in this case, spades are trumps, hearts are the suit that were being led. If you want a diamond shift, play the 9. If you want a club shift, play the 3 on that ace. This is on the first trick. Partner puts the ace on the table and down comes the dummy, and right away East says, I need to give my partner a suit preference signal. If you don't have a clue what's the best option, or you have no preference, just play that Midland 7 there. Partner will look at his hand and try to see if he has anything that would be a benefit. Maybe he has an ace in another suit. I mean, obviously his heart suit wasn't good, so he must have value someplace else. If he has a sequence, he can lead to set up 1 or 2 of the cards in the sequence. If he has a doubleton, maybe he can set that up for roughs, or he may lead a passive trump. If he has high honors without an ace, and doesn't want to finesse himself. So if East doesn't have any tricks, maybe he has 2 queens and 2 jacks, and has absolutely no preference at all, then he should play the 7. This next paragraph goes into, yeah, here we are. Now, here's another situation. We're talking about the one here where East plays a low card here opposite the heart suit. That if East plays the 5 here instead of the 8, partner could shift to a club. I think I have a couple of slides out of order here. This is the hand from the 2 slides back. Seeing this ace queen here, this is the hand where we played the 2 on the first lead. Partner knows he has 6 of them though, and you have 3. There are 2 in the dummy, so he knows that the declarer has only 2 and he has the queen. You played the 2, telling partner you do not have the queen. So you conveyed your attitude with the first trick. He led the king anyway, knowing that he's not setting up the queen for the declarer. Here is where you play the 8. Notice that if partner just leads a passive trump, he will eventually get a club trick and you will get your diamond ace, assuming that the declarer leads a diamond off the dummy, or you can't get your partner to lead diamonds. That means that the contract goes down only 1. But if you can learn to use this signal here of the 8 of hearts to tell your partner to lead a diamond instead of a club, I personally would never lead a club against this particular contract, because the partner doesn't rate to have a whole lot over there. He just bid 2 hearts. That's all. And he clearly doesn't have an honor in hearts, but he has value somewhere. If I underlead my king of clubs, I'm taking a huge risk. A huge risk. That's an aggressive lead. But if partner has given me a suit preference telling me, hey, the higher ranking of the 2 outside suits would be a much better choice, partner, we're still going to set this contract, because partner's going to get 2 hearts. He will get a trick with the king of clubs eventually, and you will get your ace of diamonds. But a diamond lead from partner at trick 3 gives you 2 diamond tricks to go along with 2 hearts and a club, and the contract is down 2, making it 1 trick better than the defenders who set the contract only 1. Now, I don't know about you, and I don't think I have to have a top on every board. And if I can set a contract, usually I'm happy. But if you and your partner can learn to use this type of suit preference signal, it can really make a huge difference. Maybe it offsets another board where you didn't defend very well at all and the declarer got an over trick. And you know, it's entirely possible that even though your partner is looking, he may miss your suit preference signal. He may misinterpret your suit preference signal. Like everything else, it takes some practice. Expect to mess it up several times and think, oh gosh, I don't think this is worth it. But if you persist and get to the point where you can really learn to look for suit preference signals, you'll be surprised how quickly the hand can become an open book in terms of what you need to lead. It really, I have seen some advanced players. I mean, it's like they're playing with glass in back of their cards and you can see right through them, because they have learned to use and interpret suit preference signals, count signals, attitude signals when on defense. It takes work, folks, particularly when you're looking at count signals and figuring out how to count a hand. It takes work. It does. I'd be lying if I told you it was easy. It is not. And it takes persistence. But if you practice, particularly with a regular partner on things like this, you should expect to see your results really improve. Suit preference signals are sometimes used when you're even leading a suit. The most common application of this instance occurs when you're going to give partner a ruff. Maybe your partner has, you've chosen a suit for opening lead. You have the ace king, and partner plays a high card and then a low card. Now, you can see the queen in the dummy. So you know he's not signaling you that he has control of the third round because he has the queen. That isn't true. This is pretty obviously a case where he has a doubleton. So I want to give my partner a ruff. Does it make a difference which card I play? You bet it does. With this hand, East-West are defending 2 spades by South, and partner leads the heart 10 in response to your opening bid. You bid a heart, South overcalled a spade, your partner passed, and West bid 2 spades. That was the end of the auction. Partner leads the 10 in your suit. Here's the queen. You know pretty much for certain that partner doesn't have 4 hearts. Surely if he had 4 hearts, he'd have found a raise. If nothing more, a preemptive raise. Once they're competitive bidding on the hand, a jump raise to 3 should indicate a preemptive raise, not a limit raise. But that's because you could use a Q bid to indicate a limit raise. So most more experienced players will use the 3 of the major suit bid as a preemptive raise in a competitive bidding situation, because the Q bid is available to show a limit raise or better with 3 or more cards. East assumes that his partner has a doubleton. It's the only logical assumption that you have. After all, there are 3 of them on the board. East placed the king first, lower of touching honors, followed by the ace. Partner followed with the 6. So he played the 10 first and then the 6. This indicates a doubleton. Because as I said, surely if he had 4 of them, he'd have raised to the total number of trumps that are held between the 2 hands, and he did not. How can I tell partner? I have a side ace here. If I can give my partner another ruff in the heart suit, that would be all we would need, wouldn't it? But how do I tell him that I have the diamond ace and not the club ace? I lead an unnecessarily high card. The 9 says, come back in the higher ranking suit, partner. Trumps or spades. I've been leading hearts. I have a diamond ace. Your partner knows you have to have outside value somewhere. Even if you have the jack of hearts in your hand, you have to have other values someplace because you opened the bid. So tell partner that you would like a diamond return after he ruffs. If he ruffs the 3rd round, then he can lead a diamond back, and lo and behold, we now have a 1 trick. Sorry, that's not right. They're in 2 spades. We have another trick, and I can lead another heart. No, and the reason I'm interested in that is because I have the queen and the 10 of trumps. Right now, if the declarer takes the ace and king, my queen doesn't win a trick. But after the 3rd heart, declarer is going to be out of hearts as well, just as your partner is. If my partner has, and in fact, at that point, even the dummy is out. If my partner has a high enough trump, say, let's say that he has the jack and maybe the 8 or the 7, just anything that's high enough to force the king on that 4th round of hearts, then all of a sudden I have a trick with my queen of spades that I'm not otherwise going to get. This is known as a trump promotion or an uppercut. It is a very effective option when you don't see any other tricks coming through high cards. When all else fails and there's nothing else available through high card strength, sometimes a trump promotion will give you the setting trick. Here's the whole deal. If I'm West, I'm sitting and look at this lovely West hand. There's a good reason why he didn't bid. So he's sitting there thinking, okay, hearts have gone around 3 times here. What is my partner thinking? Can he count? I mean, good grief. And if I rough, I'm just going to get over roughed by the dummy. Well, this comes down to trusting your partner again. Now, South is probably going to know what's up here. If he has much experience at all, he will recognize that lead of the 4th heart as an effort to promote a trick in the trump suit, whereas none would have existed before. He ends up trumping high with the 8 or the 9. West absolutely has to over trump, even though he knows it's going to get swallowed by the king. And now look, here we have a trick for the queen of spades. Notice your partner has jack 3rd. When your queen falls on the king, that jack is promoted, but East doesn't know that. He knows his partner is busted, and his partner doesn't have to have the jack of trumps. He doesn't have to have it at all. Notice though, switch the jack for a high card, a high spot card. Even if he had the 10, if you put the jack over here in the East hand and the 10 in partner's hand, the 10 is still high enough that he can force the king. And if it happens that partner doesn't have one that's higher than the high spot cards in the declarer's hand, oh well. It was the only chance you had. And when you have a chance, take it. You don't often have hands where you get multiple chances. Sometimes the old adage, strike while the iron is hot, comes into play. And this is the only chance that East is going to have to promote his queen into the setting trick. Notice, without the signal of the 9 of hearts, if I'm sitting here looking at my hand as West after I've trumped and looking at the dummy, I might think, well, my partner might have the club ace. I've got a sequence here in clubs. I could lead that. Whereas the lead of a diamond doesn't look so attractive. If you lead a diamond, you could end up finessing your partner's queen or king or whatever, or give the declarer a cheap trick. So he might well choose to play the jack of clubs, hoping that partner has the ace of clubs. So it's vital here that East give partner an indication of which suit to lead by playing the 9. Notice if he had the club ace, he would lead the 5 of hearts for his partner to rush. That means that partner needs to pay attention to the spots, but even if he doesn't, the 5 is a pretty low card, and he should be able to figure out that you want a club back. And if it makes no difference, say that East doesn't have another ace. If it makes no difference, he should lead the 7 if he has no sure entry. So this is the way that defenders can communicate with each other. It's not an accident lots of times that some of the more advanced players find the lead that gives them the extra trick on defense. It's because they employ suit preference signals. There are 2 exceptions to the use of a suit preference signal when there is a singleton in the dummy. You knew there would be exceptions by now. Surely you know there are exceptions to every situation, and this one is no exception to the exception. When you want to force the dummy to trump, that doesn't happen very often, because in general, allowing the short trump hand to trump doesn't help the defense at all, because it adds to declarer's trick total. But when the dummy has only high trump honors in it, very powerful hand here, this dummy is, then Maybe you can promote a trump trick for yourself if you force the dummy to trump. So this is relatively rare, but it does happen. So East wants West to continue spades, because if declarer roughs the trick in the dummy, he has to rough with a high trump honor. It's not often that you put down a hand in the dummy where all the high trump honors are in the dummy. This happens sometimes when you have to respond to partner's opening bid with one heart or one spade, holding something like the 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this is why we tell people, don't be afraid to respond with a suit like that. Partner may well table all the top honors in that suit. And if he doesn't, that just means that your losers are in the trump suit and not in the side suits. So you should never be afraid to bid a 4-card major suit with only small cards in it. I have done that on more than one occasion, only to see my partner put down 2 or 3 of the top honors and everything works out fine. And even if he doesn't, as I said, maybe he has 4 small cards too, then your losers are in the trump suit, and hopefully some of those honors will crash on each other. So why does East want his partner to continue spades? He wants him to continue because the declarer will have to rough with a high trump honor. Look what happens if he does. All of a sudden, the Jack of Hearts becomes a winner. It will control the 3rd round of trumps. Any other lead doesn't help much at all. Doesn't help much at all. Now, so what does he do? He has a choice of 3 cards to play here. When there's a singleton in the dummy, if he played the 9, that would be asking his partner to shift to a diamond. That doesn't look logical, but you never know. Partner may be void. Stranger things have happened. If you play the 3, that would ask for a club shift, and that's a pretty potent suit to lead through. So in this instance, you play the 6. This may be an encouraging card. 6s and 7s are hard to read sometimes, but it's not unnecessarily low and it's not unnecessarily high. That's the key. The 6 says, come on, partner, I would like for you to keep leading this. I have no preference in the side suits. Lead another spade. West should have a clue that, oh, well, my partner may have the Jack or 10 and he's hoping to get a trump trick. Is that reasoning always valid? Maybe not. Maybe the 6 is the lowest card he has and he wants a club shift. This doesn't mean that by using it, your partner's always going to get it right. But when faced with this kind of choice, this is the way you make your decision. If you play an unnecessarily low card, when there's a singleton on the dummy, that asks for a club shift. When you play an unnecessarily high one, like the 9, that asks for a diamond shift. And if you play a Midland card, you're either encouraging or you're asking partner to use his best judgment. One of the two. In this case, you're encouraging. But this is one instance when the use of the suit preference signal, when there's a singleton in the dummy, isn't used. So he would not play either the 3 or the 9. To give the best chance of getting a spade continuation, he should play the 6 when you have agreed that that word unnecessarily applies. So the second exception occurs when the person sitting in the 3rd seat can't stand a shift to another suit. In other words, it looks like a really bad idea. He can stand a continuation of the suit that partner led, but he doesn't want the lead of one of the other 2 side suits. So East is looking at his hand and he says, ugh, if my partner shifts to one of the minors, my queen's going to get finessed. Now, my partner may have the ace of diamonds. I don't know, but from where I sit, if the declarer has it, my queen is dead. Once again, he plays a middle card to say, I can stand a continuation here. Partner has to be aware that he can't see the 2 anywhere. That doesn't mean that he's not going to misinterpret that 6, but he may switch to a trump. Or I wouldn't mind if partner led another heart and then the dummy had to rush. That's okay with me. If he wanted, remember, if he wanted a shift to one of the side suits, he would play the 9. If he wanted a shift to the lower of the 2 ranking side suits, he would play the 2. When he plays the 6, that says either continue or you can shift to a trump if you want to. It doesn't look like partner has a king of trumps so that he can finesse himself, or even the queen. So just please don't shift to one of the side suits. And that's what the play of the 6 communicates. That's it, folks. We've basically covered the 2 examples that are the most common suit of the suit preference signals. When you're giving your partner a ruff and you want to tell partner how to get back to your hand again for another ruff, you lead a card that tells him which suit your entry is in. And when there's a singleton on the dummy, give partner a clue about which suit you prefer that he lead. If you have a preference, if you don't, you can just play a Midland card and say, good luck, partner. I don't have any good ideas over here. So if you can learn to use the signal in those 2 instances, your defense will improve. And believe me, when your defense improves, your results improve. Thank you guys for coming this morning. Hi, this is Susan. Thanks for stopping by the Oklahoma Collective's YouTube channel. Basically, this channel shows recordings of our free 1-hour bridge lessons for advancing players that we offer every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you would like to join us, send your contact information to the email address shown on the screen, and we'll be happy to send you the link. If you would like to follow our channel and be notified when a new recording is uploaded, just click the Oklahoma Collective button below. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.